Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Inspiring Women with ADHD. I'm Renee Allen, the host of this podcast. I am so excited to be here. I have been trying for weeks to get the audio to work again for my podcast. And for some reason, some strange reason, it got weird and had this buzzing noise. And so I've been playing with all these things and reading different things. And unless I recorded it at a much lower level, which I tried in the last few I did, but then I had to lower the music levels when I got into the audio. It was just kind of a mess. And I thought, I need to get this back to normal. So I just went into my audio recording without going to the video recording for YouTube. So this is not going to go to YouTube, except for just like with a picture of me, a show art picture of me. Because I want to record and I can figure this other thing out later. I can. So hello, I'm excited to be here. And thanks for being patient. So I'm debating as I talk to you which topic to talk about. Because I actually planned ahead. I came up with the next 4 episodes. And which one should we talk about? Because I've spent so much time working on the audio today, I only have 25 minutes before my yoga class. I guess I could pause and come back. But thank you for listening to me while I verbally process this decision. I think I'm going to talk about why women with ADHD, maybe children, maybe people in general, but women with ADHD, because that's who we are, overanalyze, analyze things. It could be psychoanalyzing. It could be just rethinking. It could be how something went yesterday and thinking it over and over and over, thinking it through. I especially do this now that I have ADHD, in analyzing why I respond to things like I do, because now I'm learning more about ADHD. I'm learning more about my brand. We each have our own brand of ADHD, meaning even though there are a plethora of symptoms. I mean, maybe technically there are a certain number of symptoms, but there are a certain number that they use to diagnose ADHD. There are a lot of other symptoms that happen, and it shows up in so many ways. So whatever your way of having ADHD is, one of the ways it may manifest is overanalyzing. And then if you have recently learned that you have ADHD and you want to figure out, oh, is this why I'm responding like this? Or is this why this bothers me so much? Or is this why it's hard for me to function? And in some ways, it's very exciting. It's fabulous because we have a reason. We can say it's an excuse. We can say there's a logical, scientific, actual reason for the way that our brains are causing us to act. It doesn't mean that we don't have free choice or free will, that there are some things that you're fighting against. Like if you're riding a bike, especially if you've ridden a bike in the wind, when you're going against the wind, it's harder to ride the bike because something is pushing against you. If you're kayaking and it's windy and the wind is in your favor, it's pushing you. Or if you're sailing, I'm not a sailor. My husband used to have a little Hobie cat, like a tiny catamaran or something. I don't know. But anyway, I have kayaked. And when you kayak, when the wind is with you, you can get to where you're going much faster. If the wind is going in a direction that you don't want to go in, you have to steer slightly to the right or slightly to the left to fight going out further from the shore. I live in Florida now, new still to Florida, and they have Keys here, which is like an island, but it's not actually an island. It's actually still connected to land. It doesn't look like it. And in the Florida Keys, I've actually been to the Florida Keys down at the south of Florida, but I've been to Cedar Key. We don't live too terribly far from Cedar Key. And when you are there, you can get on a kayak or you can actually pay to get on a boat. And they'll take you to this key. It's called OD something. I never remember any specific. I'll look it up. But let's see, OD Key, Atsina OD Key. And it's this island that used to, well, not island, a key that used to, it looks like an island, Atsina OD Key, that used to be Cedar Key. It used to be the little town of Cedar Key until a hurricane in the 1800s that wiped it out. And now all that really exists there. Evidence of life there before is the cemetery, the headstones, and even the fence around it. There might be a few other things, but you get there and it's like you're on Gilligan's Island. You get to walk through jungly stuff, and there's a raised wooden sidewalk, and you can Google it, you can look it up, and it's pretty cool. There's probably some other things, but when I went on my birthday a couple years ago after we moved here, my daughter and I paddled out there, and it seemed like it took forever to get out there, and we had to keep looking at the key and keep paddling toward it. Keep your eye on the prize and keep going and going and going and resist the wind that was trying to make it harder for you to get there and trying to take you further away from shore instead of toward that key. So you had to really course correct constantly to get there. On the way back, the wind just took us right back where we wanted to go. It was so fast and easy. But we ended up there, took longer. It was worth it for sure. It was fun. And, at times I think, was that really safe that we were on that little, I'll call it an island alone? Probably not. The last people there were getting on a little boat to leave. At least I think they're the last people. But yeah, so we are fighting against a current, literally, or you're riding a bike against the wind. And I think of that with ADHD. When your brain has executive dysfunction, all the things that can come with ADHD, you are pushing against something or course correcting against something or just dealing with something that's different than what a lot of people deal with. It makes it harder to function. And because it is hereditary, it's highly hereditary. And I've been around other people in life that are this way too. At times, I think you're really not much difference. Like, what's the big deal? You should be able to handle this. And other times, it's so on display that it's not the same as everyone else in the room or anyone but the children, a few children in the room. So, yeah, it can be hard. It can be really hard. And what was my topic? Overanalyzing. A lot of people overanalyze, but do you ruminate and ruminate and ruminate? Do you replay a conversation? Do you not only replay it in your mind because you maybe wish it went different or something, but now that you're starting to understand your brain, do you think, oh, I responded in this way because of this, or you're just analyzing the whole thing. And my daughter recently do they still call them memes? It's hard to keep up with with social media lingo. I'm still a little lost on how TikTok works, but I think it was a meme. And she had it in her Instagram story, and it said something like, I have two modes. It's either romanticizing everything or psychoanalyzing everything. And when I read that, I thought, yeah, because you're kind of like, oh, this is so amazing. It's so wonderful. That person is so, you can really get lost in that line of thought and just take it, get really stuck in that direction. Or you can get stuck in the another direction of just really analyzing it. So then when I saw that, I thought, oh, that's so me too, and I have to connect with her. And then actually my cousin's wife had the same meme in her story. So I had to tell her too, because you have to connect, it's my form of ADHD. But then for a few days after that, I was analyzing why I psychoanalyze. What is it about ADHD? What is it about me that loves to do that? Is that a good thing? Can it be positive? Why is it connected to ADHD? The curiosity piece of ADHD is very, very huge. While I'm thinking of that, I am I know you're probably sick of me talking about my website, but I am making a guide. It's called Understanding ADHD, a quick guide to ADHD. It's actually free. But I know other people have guides. I know there are websites that have things like this, but they are not always easy to look through. They're not very basic, and a lot of them have ads. This one, you don't have to pay anything. It's got some pretty colors. It's pretty simple. But I not only have the types of ADHD on here and the things that you struggle with or you tend to do when you have inattentive ADHD or hyperactive impulsive ADHD or combined ADHD, which is all of the above. and the two lesser known or lesser diagnosed forms, which I actually learned on the fly while I was podcasting several episodes ago called Unspecified Presentation. I was reading an article that said there was another kind. They said there were 4 types after so many articles said 3 types. Well, when I actually read the diagnostical, is that what it's called? Diagnostic Manual, DSM. Yeah, it's where it's how the psychiatrists, psychologists, doctors, therapists, whoever it is that determined you have ADHD, it's what they use. It's the American Psychiatric Association's Diagnostic and Statistical Manual, and they now are in the 5th edition. The ADD diagnosis, that is from quite a few editions ago. I could even look that up. I know it was a long time ago, and I know a lot of people still think that that is a diagnosis. It is not, and it hasn't been in a long time. And I'm just repeating this to you if you haven't heard it before, or if you have, because if you're like me, do you keep that information in your mind or those facts? Maybe, especially if you have see, I can't even say that, ADHD. Yeah, that if you have that autism link as well, you may have the ability to maintain to keep track of that kind of information better. But yeah, I can't find that at the tip of my finger, and I'm not going to try to. I guess I'll do that. That's another reason I'm making things like this, because I need my own little resource where I can look it up and just see, like I was just able to say, American Psychiatric Association's Diagnostic and Statistical Manual, 5th edition, DSM-5, because I wrote it down. And even if I wrote it down and looked at it every day, I would still need to find that resource and figure out what it was. But let's see, I'll just do this. When did ADD diagnosis change? I think it was in the 80s. 1987 in the DSM-3. So long time ago. Some of you may not have even been born yet. The year my husband and I were married, 1987. ADD was changed to ADHD. I know I am off track, but that is okay. Just wanted to throw that little piece out there that, that was my sidetrack, is, okay, so when I have listed, because you can't put too many things on one page. That's another thing. Not to criticize people, but I get emails from people telling me, I can help you with your online business. I can help you write better emails. And I'm already signed up with somebody that I absolutely adore that helps me with that. And so I'm not looking for someone else to do that. But it's surprising to me that when I see these emails from these other people, their emails are not very concise. And there's no way that I'm going to read it because there's just too much there. Graphically, like artistic, the graphic art, yeah, all that. It's just too much there. So I'm trying to keep this simple. So I have the basic struggles for the inattentive ADHD, the hyperactive, impulsive type, and then I have some other things. But I also have other common ADHD conditions. And the one that I just said, and I thought I have to do this right now because I totally will forget. And I'm already forgetting what it is. I'm going to write it down when I remember again. Okay, I'm going to go back to what I was talking about and I'll find it. Do you ever do that? Do you loop back? Oh my goodness. The thinking. Overanalyzing, psychoanalyzing. Oh. Hope that wasn't too much of a burst in the microphone, but curiosity. So when you have ADHD, your brain can be very curious. That is a symptom that many people with ADHD have. And some people aren't as curious as others, believe it or not. You might learn about something and you dive deep. You want to learn more. You have more questions. You learn something and you realize what you don't know. Or because you learn one thing, you have 5 more things that come up. And that's how my next 4 topics came up. Because as I talked about overthinking as I was writing notes and ideas for this episode, the overthinking, the overanalyzing, all of that, I got more curious about, well, then why does my brain do this and why does my brain do that? Why do we do these things? Why do we struggle with it? How can it be a strength? How can it not be? So you just keep connecting dots. You keep finding more ways to kind of satisfy that brain that wants to learn. And if you have any children with ADHD or maybe they've already grown up, and maybe this happened with my older son, and then I could totally spot it in my youngest son, is he had to be learning to be able to not be bored, to not be able to not get up and disrupt other people, whatever it was that was disruptive. If he if his brain was occupied, if he was learning, he was fine. If he wasn't, if he was bored, and because he was more advanced and could learn so quickly, then he did get curious about other things, and he found other things for his brain to do or for his body to do. And that doesn't always fit in a classroom. So having a teacher that spotted that and saw that in him was super, super helpful. It can also be helpful for you. If you have questions, and you can't get those questions satisfied, or you want to learn something and then later you've forgotten, because that can be another ADHD trait, is forgetting things. You want to figure something out, and then a few days later, oh, I still haven't figured that out. Sometimes just jotting down a note, having a journal where you can write these things that you can't do now. It's your do later list. Look into that, research that, order this book, read about that, do a little Google searching, because that's one of the problems, is when you have questions and then you think, I'm just going to get on the computer or on my phone for half a second to figure it out, to get an answer, to quench that brain that wants to know, you can get so distracted. But you also get distracted in your own body when things build up and you don't have an answer. I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but I've been in situations before, like a meeting, if you have the hyperactive component of ADHD. And I've been told that not as many women do, but I think it shows up in different ways. Maybe my way is a little extreme, but if you have a really hard time waiting in line, if you don't have the patience to wait, and or it just builds up in your body. Yes, you may be waiting, but are you going crazy inside? And I feel that way when I have a question and I can't get an answer. So, like, if you're watching a movie and you see an actor and you think, I know who that actor is, but I don't know who that actor is. If you're at home, you can look it up on your phone. If you're in a movie theater, I hope you're not pulling out your phone. I'm sure you're not. But you want to, you're kind of dying to know. And if you have kids like mine that don't want you to talk during the movie, you can't say, what movie are they in? So you have to wait. You have to wait. You're like that child that's just like, or Pee Wee Herman. So this is totally, Pee Wee Herman probably had ADHD. Have you seen Pee Wee's Big Adventure? If you haven't, if you're too young to know that that's an amazing movie, or you only watched it once and thought, why do people like this? Go watch it again, because he goes to the Alamo because he is told that he needs to go to the basement in the Alamo in Texas. I can't even remember why I watched that movie. I don't know, at least 20 times, probably more. But he goes on a tour, and the tour guide is one of the comedians, actresses from Saturday Night Live from long ago. And she was the tour guide, absolutely fabulous at her role. She has her Texas accent. She's doing the tour, and he wants to know, where's the basement? She hasn't said where the basement is. He tries to raise her hand. She's like, let's save that for the end of the tour. And that has been me, even as an adult in a meeting where I ask a question and I'm told, oh, that's something we'll talk about later, or we're not going to cover that today. And I think, oh my gosh, I'm going to go crazy because my brain wants to know. And so Pee Wee is sitting there and his whole body is standing there like, and he's looking around going crazy and he's shaking and everything. And then it's question time and he says, where's the basement? And she says, there's no basement in the Alamo. And everyone laughs, because it's a silly movie. It's Tim Burton's, one of his earliest movies. And it was a comedy, but it was bizarre. Tim Burton's bizarre, and he has that Halloween style, whatever you call it. But this was just bizarre and colorful. But you might have that need to know why, and that might be why you overanalyze. You might be curious. You might also be driven by anxiety. If something didn't go the way you wanted it to go, this is totally different than just being curious. It's more, that was upsetting. I didn't like how that went. And just overanalyzing. And it can even be in the preparation of something, like kind of going through something of, okay, this is what I saw before. This is what needs to happen this time. And just kind of analyzing it to bits. And it could be to make sure that something doesn't go wrong again, or you don't want it to go wrong, or you're worried that things are going to go wrong, or you just have some kind of fear in that. Will it be good enough? Will everyone be happy? It might it might be a people pleasing thing. I want it to go right. I want it to be just right. And so you go over things and over things and over things. I think of overanalyzing more of something that happened in the past, but it can also be analyzing something that needs to happen. And if you have the RSD aspect of ADHD, which is the rejection sensitive dysphoria, whether you have that or just you are sensitive, hopefully you don't think you're too sensitive, because that's what people who are sensitive are told often. You're too sensitive. Yeah, that's not very nice, is it? You're too sensitive. Sensitivity, that's a thing. Some people feel physical pain more than someone else. I One of my children did not feel physical pain. Have 6 kids. He did not feel physical pain like the rest of us. And he would get injured quite badly, like really cut up. And I won't say things I don't want to make anybody think, why is she talking about that? I don't want to hear about things like that. But where we would have to see the injury, we'd have to spot it, even getting burned, second-degree burns, and say, "Oh my goodness, are you okay?" And he wouldn't scream, he wouldn't yell, he wouldn't draw that attention to himself, but he also wouldn't express it because he wasn't feeling that, which was new. He was not my first, second, or third child, so it was like, this is new. My second child felt pain more intensively, and I've been told even by medical professionals that red-haired people feel pain more than other colored-haired people. I don't know if you've heard that, but even in surgery rooms that they have to give them more anesthesia, that it's a real thing. And it was a real thing with her, that a finger prick to take blood or to test for iron levels or shots, totally, totally different response in her body than in someone else's. So yeah, so there can be that same thing with how we feel emotionally. You can feel pain emotionally deeper, heavier, and you can worry about that. That can cause you to rethink things afterwards. I wish I hadn't have said that. If I'd only done this, da, 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 da. Or even if it's not that kind of thing, it can even just be a disappointment in yourself. And I've done this a lot recently as a yoga teacher. Someone will come and talk to me about, oh, I went to this class and this and that, and I react more judgmental that I wish I would. Like, why would they even teach like that? And I think you should not be doing that. And I'm not actually criticizing an actual person. It's not like I even know the person, but yeah, they shouldn't do that at all. Yeah, I question that too. But I think, stop acting like you're a know-it-all with that. Like, you should have a calmer response. So I overanalyze that. I think it through again. And there can be positivity to this, especially if you've done something that you think, I would like to react better than that. I would like to do better than that. I would like to be a person that could sound less critical. And there's positivity in that. But it can be driven by a lot of things. It can be driven by being hard on yourself, or just being in a different emotional state in the middle of the night, or trying to fall asleep. You might overanalyze what happened in the day. Things might kind of come up to the surface where they might not, so when you're not as physically tired or emotionally tired. Another part of ADHD for a lot of us is having a deep need to be understood. And everyone has a need to be loved. 100%. Everyone has a need to be loved. not everyone has a need to explain themselves all the time or often or as much as maybe I do. I have a deep need to be understood, and I love to share things like that. And sometimes I analyze something afterwards, like, should I have explained as much? That sounded more like an argument. Or should I have explained more? So there's always that analyzing. There's always that rehashing a situation, the going back. And I know people, have all those sayings about not going back, being happy, no regrets. But this is what my brain does. And I'm learning the positive things about that when it's helpful. And there might be times I need to slow it down a bit. But it can be helpful for sure when there's reflection, there's growth. It can be also helpful to learn. When you're analyzing stuff, you can learn because you have a self-awareness. Self-awareness is amazing. A lot of people do not have self-awareness. I don't know if you've noticed that, but I've noticed that, especially in the things that I am self-aware, that I aware of myself, where I think I do this, but I know I'm doing it. I just have a harder time stopping it. But a lot of people don't know they're doing it. And it's not like I need to tell them or anything, but it can help you just satisfy your brain. It can just satisfy the need to do that. Just like verbal processing, just like journal writing. I remember when I was in high school, I was told so many times, it's important to write in a journal. It's important to write things down. It's really good for your brain. And so I did that. And I have journals in this library right now. I think I have about 10 of them from high school and college where I just wrote every day, blah, 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 blah. And people would even say, this will be good for your children, your grandchildren, and for your posterity to read. And honestly, no one's going to read it. It was just a lot of, what do they call it when you just do the brain dump or something? You just let go in your brain. And that was what a lot of it was. And a lot of it was, oh, this boy is cute or things like that. Or it was talking in the voice that I talked in high school. Well, anyway, or, whatever it was. I'd probably still say anyway. But the processing things that are in your brain, writing is wonderful. Playing music is wonderful. Running, hiking, physical activity, all of those help us process things that happened in our lives, help our brains kind of settle with it, help our bodies settle with it. So is talking, verbal processing is as important. And just thinking, processing can be helpful too. You don't want to get stuck there. You don't want it to build up anxiety. You don't want it to just disrupt your life. But if it plays a part in your life, then it doesn't mean that it's not bad. It's not something you need to say I shouldn't be doing this anymore. Sometimes it does get in the way if you're not able to come up with solutions. You can't stop thinking about it, but you don't really come to any conclusion, or it causes you to feel more guilty or shameful or just indecisive because you have, that paralysis by analysis. You analyze, but you can't come up with a decision or a solution. And that is a before thing for sure. You avoid deciding, you avoid coming to a conclusion because you can't. You can't. And that's okay. I do love that X button on my on my computer on a tab. Sometimes I think I can't do this anymore. I can't finish it now. I can't decide. I can't come to the conclusion. And if I stay here, I'll keep having that conversation in my mind that's trying to come up with the the best answer. And the best answer is not always available. And sometimes that's why we use the okay answer. We have to do that instead. Also, if it's giving you self-doubt, is keeping you awake at night, sleepless, having a hard time sleeping, then yeah, we need to find something to do to help it. So anytime that you recognize you're overanalyzing, you might say, "Oh, this is fun." You might just keep going. You might find this is driven by stress or I'm really tired. What can I do to quiet this? Sometimes it is exhausting. It's like having someone else's conversation that you just think, I can't listen to this anymore. And you have to say goodbye and hang up. Or if you're on a phone call or in a conversation, you just know it's okay, I got to go now. And sometimes you need to do that with those patterns that are going on in your mind. A change of pace, going outside, doing something different, TV show. If you need to go to sleep, putting on something in your ear that can help with that. White noise helps some people. For me, it's to listen to a podcast or an audiobook that has a calming voice, no commercials, and I can set a timer on it. And it causes me to think a little bit, but not too much. And that really helps me because it puts other ideas in my mind that are somewhat entertaining, somewhat make me think. I'm very picky about it, but I've found something that works and it's really, really wonderful. So that can quiet my mind by hearing someone else's thoughts. And but I did this one podcast that I like to listen to. It's legal cases. And when they talk about the ones with a lot of financial issues, I find, sometimes that's not very calming because because it brings up my own financial issues. Or if it's, about domestic abuse or something, I think, okay, that wasn't helping me fall asleep. I don't want to listen to that one. But yeah, so it's finding the things that can that can help and recognizing what doesn't. And even just having a time that maybe you do process things like that. Like I'm going to go for a walk with my friend and we'll talk these are things through. I used to do yoga with a friend who would come over twice a week. It started out as me inviting a bunch of friends, but it turned out just being us two. And when it was only the two of us, we would talk the whole time instead of me teaching and everyone else quietly doing yoga. Tends to happen when there's just one person there. And sometimes I say, oh, if you don't want to talk, that's okay. We don't have to. But we tend to talk more when there's two of us. And she would always end by saying, oh, that was so fun. We solved all the problems in the world because we could talk them all through and, and have our opinions. But yeah, even using a pen and paper, just writing a few things down, saying for me, it works to just say things out loud like, this is crazy. I need to stop talking about it. Tell yourself something like that. And you can stop doing that. Put on music, sing instead, and hopefully not music that makes you think about what you're analyzing or doesn't make you analyze someone's voice or something like that, why they're so popular. But yeah, there's a lot of things that you could do. Reframing is a psychology or coaching term for taking what's in your mind and looking at it a different way. And there's whole courses on that and stuff. But yeah, lots of ways to do this. And just knowing that if you are thinking a lot and you enjoy thinking a lot, that's okay. It's one of the things that happens with ADHD, that overthinking. But if it's getting in the way of your life and you're trying to get other things done and you keep thinking about these things, or you're processing it by texting a friend or Marco Poloing, videoing, whatever, back and forth with someone, and it's constantly on your mind. If it's disruptive, then maybe turn your phone off for a little bit and give yourself a smaller window to do that. Because it can be nice. It can be nice to think things through with people. It's very helpful to me. I've had people say to me when I've tried to think out loud with them, and I'm not sure what to do because of this. And I had one friend say, "It sounds like, you've come to your decision." And I thought, "What?" It surprised me so much when she said that. It wasn't bothersome or anything, that I just thought, "Did I come to my decision?" Because I don't feel settled about this. I could talk about it for 3 more hours. But I think she was saying you have so many pros to stopping what you're doing. And I think she didn't know how much the cons tugged at my heart because I have a hard time making schedule changes and stuff when I teach because I get really attached to the people, or I feel like I don't want to let them down, the drama of it all. I feel the same way when I'm not here on the podcast because I think I've told them I'd be back and I'm not. And you guys are just fine, I'm sure. I'm sure you're not thinking about it as much as I am. But I think that's going to be it for today. I actually talked longer than I thought because I got a message from my private yoga people and they needed to push it back an hour. So that gave me plenty of time to continue recording here today, to analyze overanalyzing, paralysis by analysis, overthinking, thinking, curiosity, all those things are part of ADHD, having lots of ideas. And yet other times you feel like I don't have a single idea. That happens to me sometimes too. Like my brain is stumped. And I think that maybe sometimes that is my period of forgetfulness. Like I had an idea and now I have no idea what it is. Oh, the joys of life, huh? Yeah, thank you for being here. And it was fun. It was fun, I was saying Marco Poloing. It was fun recording this just on audio. The video is fun too, but it's there's so much more setup and it's distracting and I don't have as much control over it. That I've spent a lot of money on different things to make it happen. So I'm going to keep trying. But I might do this where I make one audio and the one with audio and video. And it's not like very many people are watching on YouTube anyway, but one of my friends only watches on YouTube because she likes it better that way. And she's not really a podcast listener, but she's a YouTube watcher. So it just made it more convenient for her. So the people pleaser that I am, I want to keep that going. And there's other reasons too. But again, thank you so much for being here. Feel free to get in touch with me if you want. Renee at Inspiring Women with ADHD. Is that what it is? Renee at Inspiring Women with ADHD. No, there's no with. Renee at inspiringwomenadhd.com. That's one of my Gmails. I have way too many. It's another thing where I can't make a decision, so I have a whole bunch of them. But that's life. That's my craziness. But thank you for being here. Feel free to share with me your challenges and your craziness too, because it, bonds us. We all have a bit of it if you have ADHD. There's just little things in life that they're crazy to deal with for sure and challenging at times too. But thanks so much. I will be back again. Bye.
Open windows, broken shadows. Frozen dreams are left for tomorrow. Without a cause. No time for a pause. Rewind, I've run out of time to sing melodies and harmonies. I'm cut short, the silence of sound has yet been found, but not by me.